Hey there, and welcome to Real Estate Divas. Today we're going to be going over the 24 ways to find off-market properties, and we will do so right after this. I like that. Hey there, welcome back to Real Estate Divas. I just saw the little intro thing for the first time. I didn't look up last time.
It
looks
it
good.
Too.
Yeah, it looks good.
Just like the swanky music. Always gets me.
It's been there for like 10 episodes.
Right.
Oh, well, whoops. I'm looking at the camera, man. I'm paying attention.
She is trained to not look up. Not allowed to look up.
Anyway, welcome back to Real Estate Divas. I'm JER'LEIGH Thompson with Texel Real Estate and Real Estate Reformation.
And I'm Kristen Gerst with Capricorn Mortgage, and we are talking about ways to find properties.
Those off-market properties,
Specifically
people.
off-market.
Off-market.
And what does that mean?
Off-market just means it's not on the MLS. A realtor doesn't have it listed, isn't trying to sell it, and it's typically not retail.
Typically.
Yeah.
But it's that MLS listing that's gonna get you every time. For investors out there, and a lot of investors don't know this, if you can find an off-market property that has never been listed on MLS, it is so much more valuable to you than another one, because you don't have an appraiser that's coming in looking at what you may or may not have paid for that thing, and then you flipped it and put, maybe you put $50,000 into it, but maybe it doesn't really show in those photos.
Yeah.
Maybe you only put, maybe you redid a couple bathrooms, and now you're wanting to get, 150.
A full price. Yeah, you're trying to get a full price for it, and you don't want people to know what that profit margin looks like.
But if it's off market, there's no record of it. And the appraisers won't know, neither will a realtor who's walking in with a potential buyer. So great way to find off-market properties. And right now, everything is super tight. So
yeah, so you want to get them where you can, and really it's not easy. That's why wholesaling is not a part-time job. It's a full-time job. But finding those off-market properties. So the first place.
And we're going to go in line of basically free.
Oh, yeah.
Free to expensive.
Exactly.
Because especially for new investors out there who are just trying to pick up anything and get it going, they don't have
They don't have the money, but they've got the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so if you've got the time, then we're going to start with those freebies first, and then work our way into something where you big bucks can get some benefit out of it. So
again, when you're first starting out, talk to everybody.
Yeah, the networking is key. Like we've said a million times, networking is key. Networking with realtors.
And why realtors? Because
we're out there, we're listing, we know when something's coming up. Sometimes we get a hold of something and I'm like, there is no way that this is going to be sold retail. Nobody's going to touch it. So you want to get in touch with listing agents, active listing agents, if you're looking in a specific neighborhood, especially when you have those agents that are very niche in certain neighborhoods. Then they usually know what the neighbor's doing and what the person across the street is doing and what their timeline may look like, because they're a little nosy neighbor and they know everything going on in that neighborhood.
And so if you want a specific neighborhood or you're interested over there, look for a for sale sign, see somebody's face on it.
Yeah.
And just give them a call and say, I'm looking in this neighborhood. You have a listing. Can you, let me know.
Do you have any leads on an off-market property? Or maybe somebody's they know there's a property, but they can't list it because there's too many nuances, that have to be solved. And that's really what investors are. We're problem solvers a lot of the time.
They may have tried to, list it, and they looked at title, and title was ugly.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're never going to clean up title. We're never going to be able to get this through.
Correct.
Other investors.
Yeah, there's always investors that I don't have time for this deal, or they're offloading some properties because they've decided to put their money elsewhere, Yeah,
and I'm planning on starting up, again, the Real Estate Investor Social Club, maybe,
Yep.
but that's an example of everything is just a meet and greet, right? That's 100%. There's no speakers, there's no education. It was specifically designed to just get around the room and meet as many people as you could and tell them what you want. And if you're looking for a property, especially a specific property, going to those networking events and talking to as many other investors that you can is key.
Well, and how often do you come across wholesalers that literally I don't do land. I don't have any land buyers. So they're throwing away those leads when maybe that's what I'm looking for.
Right.
You know, so it's a matter of who you know. Don't discount, and don't try to be so shielded with your deals that you're not going to tell somebody about it whenever you're networking. If you got something you want to offload, definitely network with those investors out there.
Yeah. Contractors. I've actually bought property from my contractors.
Yep. They're out there doing work all the time.
And, you know, he goes, hey, I've got this other investor and they've got this property. It's really great. I've already bid it, but they don't have the money to do it right now, or, you know, the cash. You know, they're already spread too thin with other ones. Do you want it? I can give you, you know, the rehab estimate. I mean, I bought it with the rehab estimate. It was great.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It is.
Well, and like you said, they're out there, they're making bids. They're usually in contact with several other investors, or they're in contact with people who they need a bid. I want to put my house up on the market. How much is this going to cost? Oh, dang, I can't afford it. Nobody's going to buy my house.
Or they're out there and they go for, you know, some newbie wholesaler. They go and give a bid and that thing falls out of contract because they couldn't, you know,
they couldn't close it.
They couldn't close it. They didn't have the buyer's list to close it. And so, yeah, contractors are a really great source.
They are. They're golden.
Wholesalers, can't live without them.
Yeah, not these days. You remember the days when we didn't even know that there wasn't even a real name. Wholesaler was, you mentioned that and people were like, what the heck is that? The heck's a wholesaler? Now everybody knows what a wholesaler is. So, wholesalers for sure.
And they are so needed.
Yep.
Especially now, you know, if there were property everywhere, it's kind of like, oh, why would you buy from a wholesaler? But now, yeah, these are people who this is their job.
Yep.
And they're
to beat on doors.
Yeah, knock on doors or send out flyers or go negotiate properties, and you know they're good at it. Some of them are really good at it.
Done an entire show on this, so I'm not going to say much more, but make sure if you're buying from a wholesaler, then do your due diligence. Come on, people. Let's get some comps. Let's make sure that you're not getting ripped off, because there's too much of this, a wholesaler buying it from a wholesaler and then upping that price, and then those margins just get thinner.
Right.
Yeah. Happens every day.
And then the other people you should call and network with are just friends and family. And I recently helped a friend out. She called me up and said, hey, can I take you to lunch? And she explained to me what she wanted, and I'm like, I don't know that I can find you this property to flip.
Yeah.
You know, she's done some renovations on her own house, but she'd never had any real investor experience. But once I knew what she was looking for, and yeah, I'm pretty tied into it, I had her a property in 2 days.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a property that I don't think this guy probably would have sold otherwise, but it was absolutely perfect for her. You know, and I just I just started kind of looking at what wholesalers were sending out, and I'm like,
that fits.
Wow, that's a really good deal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, I did a little bit of due diligence on it, you know, but then sent it to her with my seal of approval, and I was like, this is pretty good.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many deals I've gotten from friends and family just because they know I'm in the industry, and they also know that I'm not looking to just put a sign in their yard, right? They know that I have other solutions, or at least connections with people that have other solutions if I can't solve the problem myself. So you can't say that enough. Let people know what you do, and they say it takes at least 7 times of saying it to somebody before they actually remember what you do. Yeah.
Well, the other important thing, and I know a lot of people who get into it and they realize that this is a really competitive industry, they're afraid to tell people what they're looking for. You know, well, if it's such a good deal, why would they sell it to me? And, you know, I try to explain it to new investors all the time. I'm like, you know, we don't have infinite amounts of time or infinite amounts of money. Nobody does. So to really, if somebody's got a property, they might already be working on a project, and it's,
this one's got to go.
It's got to go, and you're going to be the lucky one who gets the deal. So,
well, and it's funny that I think that's just human nature in general, because not only investors do that. I have some retail clients that they're like, well, why did they come down?
Yeah.
What's going on with the property?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know. Now I feel like I'm getting a lemon. I'm like, what? You're getting the price you wanted. I don't understand.
Why did they accept that price? I was testing the waters. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so network with your friends and family. And then one that I know a lot of people balked at for a while is those bandit signs.
Oh.
They were just like, I'm not doing bandit signs. I'm like, seriously, bandit signs,
I have
your
made
return.
so much money from bandit signs.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not out there now doing it. That usually requires, I used to get up at 4:30 in the morning. And I loved Saturday morning. That was my day. Why? Because I knew that sign would at least make it through the weekend.
Yeah. Because code enforcement. That is something that y'all need to be aware of, what the code enforcements are, what the rules and regulations are in your county and city.
Right. And it's illegal. So know that, and just know your surroundings.
Yeah.
We are not attorneys.
Yeah.
Here or on TV. I was almost arrested for putting up bandit signs, almost charged with $40,000 in fines.
Yeah, I don't know if the dog catcher chasing you down is almost arrested.
He did not let me, he blocked my car in and did not let me leave my parking spot.
Okay.
And I had to lie my ass off to get out of it. And I did.
Yeah.
And I gave him some cow eyes, and he let me go. I claimed I was working for
somebody else,
a very evil woman. Mm-hmm. My alter ego. But again, when you're doing bandit signs, the reason why you see so many every place is because they work.
Yes, exactly. They do work. Well, bandit signs, and I know back in the day, Daniel used to get
I love that
the
one.
Laminate on the back of your windshield.
Yes, I love that.
That was a good one.
Well, and didn't he put it on somebody else's car, and the car broke down someplace?
He got several people, and he was like, if anybody calls, because each one had a different number, so he could keep track of how many calls on each number.
Right.
And then if he got a deal off one of them, then he would pay a bonus to whoever's car it came off of.
Which is fantastic.
It's a good idea.
No, I really do love that one.
Yeah.
And he even got it, there was a car that was just broken down someplace or in a parking spot forever. It wasn't being driven, and somebody saw it and called. He got a deal off of it. Now, having a movable sign around is always a good idea.
Absolutely.
But with, just with those numbers, use an untraceable Google number. You need a landline or a cell phone, like a dedicated cell phone. Mm-hmm. So even if you go and say, get a burner phone and set it up on that cell number, you can do that. Just have an untraceable number to get these. I know some investor wholesalers who would have
some people.
They would have 5 burner phones.
Yeah.
That they would have, and all of a sudden one would ring and they'd pick it up, and they'd have it marked so that they knew,
who's calling in on what.
But it's a great idea, right?
Yeah.
To do that.
Yeah, so that you're either in real estate or you're a drug dealer.
Right.
Burner phone could mean any of those.
But always make sure when you're doing bandit signs that you do have an untraceable Google number or a burner phone that cannot be traced back to you.
There you go.
It's your tip of the day.
Right? Whoa, tip of the day. Woo! You want to repeat that?
The tip of the day today is always make sure and have an untraceable Google number or a burner phone on your bandit signs or anything attached to your car so that
it's not
traceable. Can't be found by the police or the dog catcher in my
instance.
Yay!
Oh, that's the sound effect. That's hilarious.
I don't have it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, then moving on to the next one is driving for dollars. I
Which
know a
we
lot
love.
of driving for dollars is awesome. It's not only can you just do it old school way of putting it in the notes in your phone or writing it down, taking a picture of it, whatever. But there's all kinds of apps out there now.
I love the apps, and especially there's some really good ones out there that you can have automatically. And again, this takes money, right? So you do it the freeway first, and then you can get these subscriptions.
You can start adding on as you go, as you start building.
And you can have them send out a postcard to that property owner. The owner, not the house where it's obviously vacant and nobody's lived for like 2 years.
Yeah, it's the owner.
So it is. There's a lot of great services out there for driving for dollars. And for all of you who are like, I hear them talking about driving for dollars all the time. What is this?
It? Yeah.
It's where you drive around and you are looking for the worst house on the street. Probably the grass is unmowed. You've got newspapers, or
it's just dilapidated. It doesn't look like it's the one of these things does not look like the other type of
code violation.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that
love
sticker.
that sticker on the front door. It's like a bullseye. Right there you're gonna be sending a postcard. So I still do that. I used to pick up, oh my gosh, I started doing that early on. I was in like a neighborhood and I'm like, look at that one. That one's obviously not being lived in. I'm going to make a ton of money off this one. So I called the owner, tracked him down on I left a message on an answering machine that said it was a mechanic's shop. And the guy called me back totally shocked and said, how did you find this? And I'm like, I don't know, some number attached to it. And I just called. I called probably 4 or 5 numbers and was able to leave a couple messages, and they called me back. Yeah, and I ended up buying that thing.
That's awesome. But driving for dollars still works. I know a lot of more seasoned wholesalers out there don't really like that because it's time consuming, but it does still work.
Yes, it does.
And the next one would be public records are your friends.
I love public records. So people don't realize how much is available.
Information.
Yes.
Yeah, at your fingertip. Now at your fingertips. You don't even have to go to the courthouse now.
No.
Now you can just go online.
It's all listed there.
Yep.
So you have to kind of get in, and then you kind of have to play around. Every single county is different. So depending on where you're at.
And let me just say, since every single county is different, then I said you don't even have to go into the courthouse. Some places you have to go into the courthouse. Yeah. They're not online. They're very antiquated in some areas.
Right. So and depending on where you're at. Majority of the time you don't have to go in. I still do this. I'm like, all of a sudden it'll cross my mind, okay, I want to target this type of seller. I wonder how many there are out there.
Yep.
And so I'll go into public records and search. Going into public records, looking for recent filing of eviction notices.
Yeah, because then you have a landlord that might be sick of being a landlord.
Yeah. And when you get that filing, you've got the landlord's name.
Yeah.
And you've also got that property address. So then, you find that and you get onto public records. By the way, these are all free searches. It just takes time. So,
Again, it's just a time factor. And then let's say you're more seasoned, then you have somebody else doing this for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a virtual assistant, or you get
some sort of service where they're scraping the data and stacking the list.
Which you can buy these lists. They can have them created for you.
Yep.
In some cases, 24, 72 hours. It's super fast.
And so that's not only eviction notices, that's also code violations, like we were talking about, that little sticker that's on that front door. Mm-hmm. All kinds of code violations. That could be cars not parked in the yard. That can be grass. Too much trash. There's all different kinds of.
The soffits are falling down.
Yeah. Yeah, we think your house is a hazard.
Yeah. Yeah.
The mechanics liens. Yeah. That's another one.
Mechanics liens are great. So and they are actually called mechanics liens. So that's all you have to search for. These are people who have done work on this house and they don't have the money to pay them.
Yep.
Now, are they all, are they all deadbeat? No. I mean, sometimes
it's a shady mechanic, but for the most part, it's usually that I say mechanic, that contractor did not get paid.
Right.
And so they go and put a lien on the house so that hopefully at some point in time they can get their money back.
Right.
Yeah.
So if it sells, if the property sells, they're able to. But that homeowner, that might not be the only thing that they owe money on.
And most likely not.
And most likely not, as
yeah,
his history tells us. Most likely it's not. And so they might be like, okay, yeah, I just need to sell this headache. And all of this.
And get the money out.
And
all of this goes away. Yeah. Because that's really what you end up doing so often when you're doing an off-market property is you are helping somebody out of a situation. That is going to definitely get rid of some sort of headache for them.
Right.
Yeah. And then also tax liens.
Property tax liens.
Because property tax, and that's usually the one that's right there with the mechanic lien, is the property tax lien. So those have been, stacking up, maybe just a year, maybe 2 years, 3 years. It takes a really long time for counties to foreclose on a home because of tax liens. They're just going to let it keep accruing.
Right. And eventually, and they know this, but then they also have their companies that will pay
the tax liens
for them, but at exorbitant rates.
Yes.
And a lot of times they can't keep up with the payments to the tax lien companies, and then they end up, they know that it's only a matter of months before they're going to be foreclosed on.
Exactly. So tax liens are always a great lead list, but all of those are free. It's just time consuming to go in and search for them depending on your county.
Yeah.
And what else do we have? We've got
attorneys.
Now,
this could also be under networking, another group to go talk to.
But also to directly solicit to is attorneys.
Right. And there are attorneys that, a lot of them subscribe to the same, their bar association newsletter that you can advertise into. But if you just wanted to get a list of
all the probate attorneys,
and you can sort them by that.
Yep.
But yeah, you want to look at probate, you want to look at divorce.
Divorce is a big one.
And you want to look at just real estate attorneys who might
come across some deals, might know one of their clients wants to offload a bunch of properties, something like that.
And not all real estate attorneys invest in real estate.
Yeah.
The ones that do, of course, will snatch up those, as soon as they have them.
It ends up being a win-win.
Right.
Yeah.
But not all real estate attorneys
Well, that's
are investors.
just like, not all realtors invest in real estate. Not all gurus actually still invest in real estate.
Most gurus don't invest in real estate.
But, that's a thing. But, definitely solicit to those attorneys. And then the easiest one these days, in my opinion, is social media.
Oh, God, yes.
That's easy breezy. And that there, you don't even have to, we're not even talking about paid stuff yet. We're talking about just social media, networking on social media, getting in some of those groups, telling them what you're looking for. Like we said in the beginning of this conversation, that don't be afraid of putting it out there that I'm looking for this. And this is my parameters of what I can put, how much I can pay.
And also read the comments
in
those Facebook posts. So it might not be something that applies to you. Maybe it's somebody else who's looking for, all right, not exactly, but similar to what you have. Mm-hmm. And then you go down the comments and there's 30 wholesalers that have said, hey, I can help. Here's my email address. And so go direct message or email every single one of those. You don't even have to comment on that same thing, but you have just now solved your own problem in the span of about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And that's just by kind of reading some of those pages to see, oh, this is interesting. Yeah, I can probably find somebody.
Yep.
Who can help me
I couldn't agree more. That one's a no-brainer to me. If you're not on social media trying to find deals, then you're doing it all wrong.
Yeah, you're not trying.
And not to be hateful, but come on. That one's an easy breezy one. Online websites,
Yeah, hit or miss.
Yeah, they're hit or miss, but they're out there. There's plenty to choose from. And I mean, just like anything, you got to try it if you're looking for different avenues.
So the first one that I did put on here is myhousedeals.com.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they're not. I know that they're in like Florida, Texas, a lot of the southern states, Louisiana. That is a really good site. I have not only bought off that site, but I've also
never even been on it.
No, it's funny that not a lot of people, like I talk to people, I'm like, you don't know about this. I was also wholesaling, like tons of real estate on this thing. And I would have I'd have it sold in a day.
Wow.
But so the thing to pay attention with those is that, like in My House Deals is no exception. They have a paid membership. So they have like the VIP membership.
Yep.
And then they have for everybody else that's
Gotcha.
free. Now you can still have access to it, but they would give like 4 or 5 days head start for the VIPs.
You get the preferred list.
Right. And then you could even pay, I think, an additional, fee, and they would blast you out the details and the contact information before they even put it on the site.
Gotcha.
So even ahead of the rest of the VIPs. So again, I can say that I have bought and sold on that website, and I like it.
Well, and the FSBO one.
For sale by owner.com.
Yeah, for sale by owner.com. Now that one I have been on, and yeah, that's a great place to dive in.
And a lot of people are like, they're like, oh, it's a great place to go find, an owner finance deal. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
These are just people who don't want to pay realtor
fees. Yes.
So, but there's a lot on there.
Yes. Well, they don't want to pay realtor commissions, and because they're not paying a realtor, most likely they don't know what their house is completely worth,
Right.
at least in Texas, because we're a non-disclosure state. So they may have it priced wrong to begin with.
They heard that Bob down the street
Sold his house for
$300,000.
Mm-hmm.
Never mind that it's 1,000 square foot bigger than my house, but I want $300,000 too.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, FSBO.com is an easy one, and then JER'LEIGH.
Yeah, and I went on there. It pops up a lot if you do search places for marketplace. I've never actually used it. By the way, there's dozens of these things now.
Yeah, there's a ton of them. So, but just like anything else, if it's trial and error, go in there, check it out, see what they've got.
I find the ones that are specific to a certain region or certain state or even a certain city, right? If you could find a marketplace like that was specific to North Texas, yeah, you might not have a ton of deals on there, but I think those deals would be legit. It's the ones that I was reading reviews on some of these. It's kind of like, the reviews are all terrible. It's like, I didn't even buy anything. Are these even real? Are these real property listings? I don't know. I couldn't actually tell you. So,
well, and now I know just from clients that Zillow, where you used to be able to do your for sale by owner on Zillow, and it didn't categorize you or hide you or anything. Now it's harder to get your for sale by owner to be prominently displayed. It's not displayed with everything else, and so it's a little harder to find.
Are they charging people for that now?
I believe there is a small fee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's no longer free to list because it's a public company, and I know they want to get their profits up.
Absolutely. But yeah, now it's not prominent like it was before, because before it was listed right there with all the other houses that were on the MLS. And so tons of people thought, oh, I can do this. Who needs the MLS? And now you're more hidden. So.
Right. So now we get into stuff that's more expensive.
So you got to have money, people. Now the free tips are over.
And, and everything that we've said before, especially if you're looking for public records or you're sending, maybe a letter or a postcard out to different attorneys.
Yep.
Or
there's a little bit of cost there.
There's a little bit of cost, but it's not a mass campaign.
Exactly.
So when you start talking about direct mail campaigns, this can cost a lot of money.
Oh yeah, you're getting into several $1,000s a month,
or $10,000.
Yeah, depending on how many you're sending out, and then are all of them Are they all going to be letters, or are they going to be postcards? Because there's a difference in cost as well, you know?
So the fun thing here is, yes, you can do this yourself. You can have your kids out there and everybody's licking envelopes and folding paper and putting stamps on them. You can absolutely do that. Or you can do something like look at Vistaprint.
There's all kinds of platforms that you can become a member of, just like everything else we mentioned here.
Yep. Vistaprint's free.
Yep.
So, but they actually have mailing lists now. These are the people that, you know, for everybody starting out, which I absolutely don't recommend this, but they get those free business cards from Vistaprint, and then you turn it over and it like says Vistaprint on it, and you're like, really? You couldn't spring for the $20 for some cards?
Yep.
It's a little weird. Mm-hmm. But anyways, you know, if you're buying banners, if you're buying swag of any kind, you know, Vistaprint's a pretty cheap online way to do that. But they also have mailing lists, and they will mail everything for you.
That's awesome.
And it's not too bad.
Yep. Well, and there are, like I said, there's several platforms out there that will do a combination of things. Mm-hmm. They'll scrape, put together lists. You buy those lists, then you designate whether or not you're sending postcards or letters, how many you're sending them to, and then they mail them. So, I mean, you can outsource all of that depending on what your time frame is. But it does get pricey. It does start adding up.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but with that, you get results.
You do get results. The thing is like what we were talking about right before, because this isn't really 24 tips. This is 25 tips.
Yes.
Because of the text messaging.
Yeah.
Kind of goes hand in hand. That's the reason so many people are seeing the text messages right now, is because it's so much cheaper than doing snail mail.
But you also have to make sure that you do those legally.
True.
In snail mail.
Snail mail still has a lot of return. A lot of return.
Yes.
There's a reason why people spend thousands of dollars on the snail mail.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and you don't. Do you have to do envelopes? I mean, the key is, how do you get somebody to look at your mail? Because, I mean, I pretty much know. You know, I will call and give a thumbs up to somebody who actually gets me to open up their wholesaling letter, because I'm going to be like, oh, this is handwritten. What is this? Turns out it's not handwritten. It was like some weird
sort of font print that made it look like.
You can, I think on Fiverr, get a font made out of your scribbled handwriting.
Nice.
There's your tip of the day. If you're
tip of the day.
Tip of the day. Tip of the day. Tip of the day. When doing your mailers, as you know, you're doing your direct mail campaign, if you want people to open it, make it look handwritten. I have seen them on yellow, that yellow, blue lined yellow tablet, and then they looks like it was handwritten. You can actually get that font. Somebody can create that font. You send them a handwriting sample, and they will create that font for you to just be brought into your Microsoft Word.
Yeah.
Check out Fiverr.com for that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, I'm gonna start. That's gonna be all my letters to friends and family too now. Like, I'm not gonna sit there and write it out. I'll type it, send it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, direct mail campaigns.
Well, I'd like to add to that as well, just because it's so easy. You get a Sharpie, write it on a piece of paper, your signature, then scan that in, and then you go to Photoshop and then strip the white paper out, and then you could either make your cool graphics and put your signature on it, or if you're writing bulk letters, that's a better signature line than than any kind of font.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, it's easy. It's not really a tip. It's more just like
it's kind of
obvious. It's obvious. It's kind of obvious.
I don't know.
Well, just making anything look handwritten.
I just want to say Sharpie.
Sharpie.
I don't know. I'm a Sharpie.
Apparently, we all did.
I know. Can't believe I fell for that.
Yeah,
anyway.
right.
So anyways, yeah, direct mail is super important, but get ready to pay. I mean, there's different ways. Envelopes, of course, cost more than,
Yeah, your letters are going to cost more than your
than-
postcards
and then there's different sizes of postcards
and weight.
and weight.
Yep. But anyway, there's plenty of places to go and check
When
that
you
out.
are doing direct mail, always smart, test out.
Yeah, do
Do a small test on the mailing list that you buy. I have blown a lot of money in the past and realized that I didn't set my parameters correctly to get, to have my data scraped. And then when I went to do mailers, the calls I was getting were really bizarre. It was like,
how
and then
bizarre were they, Kristen?
it was very bizarre. It was nothing I was looking to buy. They were not clients of mine. And, and then I checked my code to see because I put a code on every single card that I mail out. And I went to go check the list, and I'm like, what's up with this list? And then when I dove deeper into it, I'm like, none of these people would have anything that, that I'd want to buy from them. So again, test it out on a smaller batch so you're not blowing a ton of money.
Yep.
On
I
a bad
agree.
list.
On a bad list. Or also it's your material. Like I know that there's the wholesalers that I work with, they have different campaigns and some perform better than the others. And they're keeping track of that because you've got to gauge this. You've got to put a number to it. And so then once they realize this one gets better return, then most of the content that goes out looks like that.
Right. And in anything that gets returned to you, make sure and have somebody, like I have my 16-year-old, he does it for me. This my main mailing list that I send out to is on Google, it's on a Google sheet, and he just goes through and he takes off the addresses that are returned because it's a bad address.
Absolutely. You don't want to be wasting. I mean, yeah, it's only 69 cents or $1.15 or something to send something, but that adds up. You have 100 of those every time you do a mail campaign. No.
And then also make sure that your list, because you're going to get that list and it's going to be unvetted. Make sure you're not sending multiple to the same address. I've seen that before in my case, all of a sudden in one day from the same person, the same exact campaign, like 23 letters showed up. And I'm like, man, that person did not clean their list,
Right.
Had they just seen, oh, wow, this is the exact same address. Do we really need to send the same piece of mail?
23 times. I'm sure that person was really happy.
Well, they didn't get returned.
That's true.
Can you imagine getting returned to sender and seeing them all with the same address on it going, oh, my God.
Yeah,
I can't believe I
that
just
would be a
wasted this money.
nightmare. Well, and so one that's a little bit less expensive than direct mail would be email campaigns.
So this is also something to be aware of. If you are just buying a list off the internet, which I recently did, and then when I really looked at that list before I put it into my MailChimp, I looked at so I bought a list of attorneys in Texas, and I wanted real estate, probate, and divorce attorneys. So that's all I got, and I had to have just those on the list. Maybe it sent me all of them, and then I said, all right, well, I'm only going to send to those. When I looked at the age of these attorneys, over half of them were over 70 years old. What a likelihood that those attorneys are still going to be practicing.
Yeah.
And then I'm going, wait a minute. Now I'm like, these guys are retired.
Yeah.
One guy was 104. That guy's dead. So I'm sending mail to a dead man.
Yeah.
So really, I realized, I'm like, you know what? This is not a good email list. Plus, what 104-year-old?
Yeah.
10 years ago had an email. I mean, in 94, did he have an email? Probably not.
No. So vet your sources, where you're getting your emails from, your email list from.
Hopefully they will be concise like that.
Yep.
And you can get some red flags going, all right.
Yeah.
Depending on how many emails you're sending out, you can send a max of 50 from your Gmail account. Create a new Gmail account and test these things out. Have a VA, for $3 an hour, log into some
rando
Gmail account and send out maybe, a test of 25 emails and see how many bounce back. Take those off the list before you before you
put it on MailChimp and actually have to pay for that bounce back.
Oh, well, MailChimp they'll disable your account.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be, blacklisted and you're going to be put into everybody's spam filter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very detrimental to do that with your MailChimp account. And so you really do want to be careful with email campaigns that you have, buy from, how do you pick a legitimate source though online? I bought a list from
Networking. Let's get back to the top. Networking.
Who are you using for your
Yeah.
Direct mail, your cell number, your email, direct marketing list?
Exactly.
Another thing about those lists, though, that you're using is you can't let them cool off too much, because just like you were talking about how MailChimp, if you have a list of 500 or 1,000, you could pay your $20, $50 fee a month and keep an active account. But if you've got a larger list, because you've been in this business for 10 years,
mm-hmm.
you're probably not going to want to have an account open that you're not mailing, because it's going to cost you $40 or $500 a month because you have so many contacts. So in my experience, I was just like, all right, well, I'm not going to have a MailChimp or a Sendinblue account for a minute. And then when you start trying to email these people again, they're like, because you haven't emailed them in a while,
mm-hmm.
then you get hit. Even in Sendinblue, who is, in my opinion, much better than MailChimp as far as all the craziness,
mm-hmm.
they still cancel or try to turn my account off twice.
Wow. Really?
Because I'm emailing people I haven't emailed in 10 years.
Yeah.
Or 5 years or 2 years.
Yep.
So my point is, because I don't like to spam, but if you go too long without emailing them, or if you cancel your account and come back into an account,
then it gets flagged.
So
Interesting.
either
I
just
did not realize
bite the bullet and keep the account open.
Yep.
And again, this is completely anecdotal. I don't know for a fact. I just know my experience. Hey, cool. Here's 100,000 contacts.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden,
you are canceled.
Basically.
No,
and I'm like, guys, what the hell?
No, it is, or sending them and telling, if it's truly a list that is unfamiliar to you, sending, 25 emails and telling them what you offer and what you do. I solve real estate problems. If you're sending it to real estate attorneys, divorce attorneys, and probate attorneys, they might go, wow, I always need somebody that I can sell real estate to. Yeah, I'm going to sign up for this. And, you send them an actual sign-up form for this database. You're tempted to go, wow, but I paid for 4,000 emails. I want to send them all all the time. But in reality, you can't.
Well,
and it'll destroy your account.
Exactly.
And your credibility.
Exactly. Moving on to targeted ads. Moving on. Targeted ads, I love. And some of the stuff that you can do with targeted ads, it's amazing what they can do now. Well, and so for y'all people out there are like, what exactly is the targeted ads? We're talking about online platforms. So we're talking about Google. We're talking about social media. For the most part, I know that there's some print targeted ads. We just don't see that as much.
No, you don't. But so I do print targeted ads with Think Realty, because they put out a monthly magazine. A lot of times you're going to flip it over and you're going to see Capricorn Mortgage. So, or it's going to be, a half page ad, somewhere in the middle of it. So, yes.
Well, and I know print, and I still do print as well, but I'll do print for events. Certain events come with a pamphlet, and a certain type of clientele is going to be there. And so therefore, I'm going to go ahead and take out a page or a half page in that little brochure that everybody gets when they walk through the door for that benefit, concert, or whatever, or golf tournament, or
for
whatever.
That huge, networking weekend.
Exactly.
We've all been to, they're going to come back. And you've got 400 people who get this free flyer, and they're standing, they're sitting there with nothing to do. waiting for the next speaker to come on, and what are they doing? They're flipping through your ads. So again, yeah, print is good, but I mean, it's not like you're just going to go, take out some random ad and something.
Yeah, and that's
read.
all you're going to do. Yeah, you're gonna want to concentrate. If you're trying to get the most bang for your buck, obviously you're going to concentrate on the social media and Google.
And what I love about Facebook specifically,
Mm-hmm.
you can create, it's called a shadow audience. So let's say that, so for me, I've got my database of basically Texas investors, realtors, contractors, all of that. Or if I wanted to start slower, like everybody who I've ever bought a note from, right? I've got their email addresses. Well, I can put those email addresses into Facebook, and they will create a lookalike audience. They will find everybody who does behavior just like
them,
just like those email addresses. Very, very scary. And then the ads will only target to them.
Nice.
The other really great tip with tip of the day.
Tip of the day. Listen, in my defense,
You
it's
totally
like another
tuned
great
us
tip.
out like an hour ago.
Another good tip.
Another
that'd be a
great
good tip
tip
of the day. I'm like, oh God, my bad. So, I did tell you to do that, but it's like, it's just kind of like you can make make it more theatrical.
All right.
Tip
Tip of the day.
You're gonna go stand up next time. We're gonna do the
Stand
tip
up.
of the day.
Exactly.
So, tip of the day for Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook ads, specifically targeted Facebook ads. You can, at a certain date and time, target one address. So if you know that there's going to be this huge real estate meetup going on, you might not even be in that city.
Yep.
You know what's going on in Houston, and you want to hit everybody at that address over these 3 hours. You can pay to have your ad sent to their phones.
Basically on their feed, anybody in that parameter.
Anybody who was there during that will then see your ad
Every time they get on Facebook.
every time they get on Facebook. Now that might be they've got on Facebook the next day. Maybe they didn't get on Facebook that night. But as soon as they get on Facebook, they're going to see your ad because they were at that address at that time, which is awesome.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
So again, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with social media.
Yep.
And then Google, of course,
But just dive into that. You can look up all kinds of different tips, YouTube videos, all of that on different strategies with each different platform, because every platform has little nuances that you can target an audience.
And I got to be honest, it is difficult. And in fact, I'm frustrated often, especially because if you're doing anything with housing or finance or with me both, it is very hard to get a Facebook ad and a Google ad approved because there's so many restrictions
now. Yeah, they've changed things quite a bit over the last couple of years.
Well, I finally hired somebody to do it for me.
Yeah, it's too much.
It's too much. I just couldn't figure out why all of my stuff, and I wasn't even sure what I was doing. It was like, okay, we've got these subsets of ads, and what is this?
What is going on here?
I know just enough to be dangerous.
Yep.
But, then I give my directives. I'm like, okay, well, I want everybody, send it to this address at this time and this date. And
Yeah.
works out well.
And then the next one would be radio and TV. That one's pricey.
I know it's pricey, but at the same time, buying on specific, there are people who listen to radio programs. I know this because I agreed to be on one, and I was pretty sure sitting there being interviewed on the phone that there was no way in hell anybody was listening to that. And then all these people called me up and said, hey,
I heard you on such and such radio. Yeah.
I was like, seriously?
Yeah.
There's people listening to this? And, and I just asked them, like, do you listen? They were like, oh, I never miss the show.
Is that like that, and then also like podcasts, there's so much out there, but there is so much opportunity as well. And then you don't think about how many people are listening. This show, for example,
I know. I was looking at somebody else's. It was something different, but they had all these people watching.
Yeah.
And I'm like, geez, I get excited when like 6 people watch this. I got like 200 and some. Awesome. Good for them.
But I mean, that's a long list. 25 different ways to find those off-market properties, people.
And a lot of those are free. You just
Yep.
have to sit down and,
Put the time in.
well, again, you're not doing anything. If you're just sitting on the couch watching TV, I am never just sitting on the couch watching TV.
Yep.
I'm doing typically at least 3 or 4 other things.
And several of these things, like the research on your laptop while you're sitting there halfway paying attention, you can do that research, whether it's the public records or just learning a new tactic of how to target your audiences. I mean, there's all different things you can be doing kind of on the side.
Well, and I do like the public records search because honestly, not a lot of people are out there looking at it.
Yep.
And so if you're looking at evictions and, you know, how many people are out there on a daily or even a monthly? And are they in the same county you're looking?
Exactly. And they can't hit all of it, like for the most part, you know, not everybody, like I'm going to like this person better than I like this person. Just because there's somebody out there hitting the same lead as you doesn't mean they're the ones that are going to get it nailed down.
Right.
So anyway, take some of this advice and tips and let us know what you end up doing with your...
Oh, I would love to hear if somebody tried this
Yeah.
today. And then like, oh my
Like
gosh,
today.
I've got like 3 meetings coming up. That would be
awesome.
It would be awesome.
Well, good luck, you guys, out there finding your off-market deals. I am JER'LEIGH Thompson with Texel Real Estate and Real Estate Reformation.
And I'm Kristen Gerst with Capricorn Mortgage. And if you're doing all this and you come up with some mortgage notes, I'm your girl to buy those.
Thanks for tuning in to Real Estate Divas. See you later.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.